what do I need to do to like be able to sleep at night? Like that's the thing. What do you do to where whatever happens during the day, at the end of the day, you can lay your head down on your pillow and not have any regrets?
Welcome to the Country Boy Book Club, where we take the time to really enjoy life and become a little bit better every day.
And what that really means is focusing on the whole picture.
We are focused on improving our mental, physical, spiritual, and financial well-being, and we love for you to come with us on this journey.
In this series, we cover Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life and Antidote to Chaos.
We're happy you're here and can't wait to hear what you're getting out of this book. Join the conversation. This is a big one that I've struggled with my entire life, as far as just generally taking care of myself. I don't know, man. I wasn't done any favors. Early in life I was told that some steroids that I was on were to blame for the crazy amount of weight I was carrying, but that was an absolute excuse, a remarkable excuse, and quite damaging because of that I didn't recognize the bad habits that I had until later, and by that point, those habits were so well established. I still deal with them to this day. I'm definitely a comfort eater, and which is remarkably frustrating because I'm on a track here, right? Like I'm trying to get somewhere. And this is nothing new, I've been motivated at least to some degree for an extended period of time now to improve upon myself and try to make something out of this life. But still, man, a big stressor. Bro, the first thing I want to do is go get a cheeseburger and a little Debbie cake,
Yes, it's for me. It's Oreos,
Mm.
and
Ooh.
it's not just 4 or 5.
Oh, it's the whole freaking pack.
Yeah, it's a whole row.
A whole row is nothing, bro. I'm telling you, a whole row is nothing. I stop at the last row because I just know that I shouldn't eat the whole thing.
Right. So I just eat one row because I know I'm gonna want some later. So I'm not gonna eat the whole thing now, and then 2 hours later I'll go back and eat another row. That's what I do.
Yeah, man, that's a tough one. I think I'm gonna need to reread this chapter several times. But I don't know. Let's get into it. And you know, I the first thing I wrote down was a very short line from page 36. I don't know if you want to get started any sooner than that or any earlier in the chapter than that, but I've got a single sentence that is kind of a standalone sentence as far as things I'd like to talk about tonight. It reads, but order is sometimes tyranny and stultification, as well as stultification as well when the demand for certainty and uniformity and purity become too one-sided. Basically, what he's doing there is he's saying order is all well and good, and we'll get in there's a big thing with this book. I don't know that we got into it. We didn't really get into it in chapter 1, right? But the balance between chaos and order and understanding, the necessity of both of those sides. And, what he's getting into here is yeah, you can have an imbalance there. But those imbalances can go to extremes, with extreme chaos, it's pretty easy to envision, right? Everybody recognizes extreme chaos. What some people don't recognize based on Peterson's perspective of things is extreme order. I mean, it manifests itself in like, you know, the Nazi regime and you know, Germany in the 1930s and 40s. You know, that's extreme order. You know, Stalin's communism was extreme order. Uh, so I don't know, man. That was just one sentence that really caught me off guard. You know, and where it's like, you know, this push to like get more and more in line with things as far as a society is concerned, it's going to reach a bad point. And I don't think it's a something to unpack right now, but I just like that one sentence was like something I paused on for a second. Um, I can continue to unpack it a little bit because
What
I've got another note here from 36. What you got, man?
I was gonna say, read the sentence again because I was trying to find it in the book.
Oh, man, I butchered it the first time. I have a feeling I'm going to do it again this time. But order is sometimes tyranny and stultification. Um, as well, when the demand for certainty and uniformity and purity becomes too one-sided.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I feel like I got a weird comma in there. It trips me up every time.
Yeah.
Read it. Read it the right way.
Since this is our first time talking about order and chaos,
Mm-hmm.
um, just for those that kind of aren't reading the book and everything, where we're coming from is chaos. Peterson's talking about you know, your yin and your yang, your order. It not necessarily good and evil, but order and chaos.
Right.
Chaos is this is top of 36. Chaos is where we are when we don't know where we are, and what we are doing when we don't know what we are doing. It is, in short, all those things and situations we neither know nor understand. And he kind of gets into it. Chaos is freedom, dreadful freedom.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
Order by contrast, yeah. Order by contrast is explored territory. That's the hundreds of millions of years old hierarchy of place, position, and authority. That's the structure of society, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The sentence that he says before what you quoted. Order is the place where the behavior of the world matches our expectations and our desires. The place where all things turn out the way we want them to. Order is sometimes tyranny and stultification, etc., etc. If you finish thing.
Yep. I've got so a little bit further down there. He continues to unpack it, and like I'll tell you in this next part that I'm about to read, the first thing I thought about was like, you know, I got kind of used to chaos. You know, I surrounded myself by it at a very very early age via probably some bad decisions, but just kind of like a general desire to live that kind of lifestyle. But that also, you know, got me used to having a certain comfort level with chaos. Listen to this, page 36 still. Uh, where, and this is, yeah. So we're there when everything is certain. We're in order. We're there when things are going to plan, and nothing is new and disturbing. In the domain of order, things behave as God intended. We like it there. Familiar environments are congenial. In order, we're able to think about things in long term. There, things work, and we're stable, calm, and competent. We seldom leave places we understand, geographical or conceptual. Conceptual. For that reason, we certainly do not like it when we are compelled to, or when it happens accidentally. Yeah, getting out of your comfort zone, man. Like you've got to have a little bit of that. I got another little piece here. The temptations of deceit and acting, and victimization and impulsive pleasure. And bro, I am struggling tonight. I cannot read anything tonight. I'm gonna try it one more time. I am so sorry that I'm stumbling so bad. The temptations of deceit and acting, and victimization and impulse pleasure, and totalitarian subjugation. If we want to take our place as genuine beings in the world.
Yeah. Um. So there he was talking about hold on, I'm trying to reread it and like figure out what I'm trying to say at the same time.
Sure. Mm.
Yeah, there he's talking about the Pinocchio and Monstro, the basically the hero's journey, right? Is what I was kind of thinking about.
Yep.
I don't remember who had where the hero's journey come from, but basically, you know, you have an individual that goes on a quest, right? And then the things that you have to kind of overcome, and that yeah, he wants to extract himself from the temptations of deceit and enacting the victimization. It's just having that balance, right?
Right.
Because he gets into this. I think it's on page. Um, I'm not gonna go back or anything. I have two different things. Page 35, and I'm not gonna turn there, and page 43. It kind of talks about your you know balance of chaos and order. And if you think about it like a circle, like a pie chart, right? Like a circle, no matter how much darkness on this side and how much whiteness, which is light, whiteness, light, how much chaos and order you have, that line in the middle, wherever it's at, that's you. That's your consciousness.
Yep. Yep.
That's your being, right? So, I thought a lot about this because I was thinking about too, like how much I was kind of in chaos, kind of growing up a couple of stages of my life, and the Batman movie with Bane, when Batman first goes against Bane, Batman's obviously like missing a couple of things, and Bane beats him, but Bane has a speech there where Batman's trying to use like his tricks to defeat Bane, and Bane's who's played by Tom Hardy, which I love, but Bane starts talking. Batman eventually like turns the lights off, so to speak, and Bane goes into that speech to where he's like, "Oh, you think darkness is your ally?" And like Bane talks about like how he was born into it, molded by it, and by the time he saw the light, it was blinding, and I love that. But yeah, that got me thinking about like the times when chaos really was like overbearing. But even now when I look at it and I look at those like chaotic, I don't want to say low spots in my life, but the chaotic parts of my life, I also see a lot of order that was still there.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. Yeah. No, Zach, on the outside looking in, man, nothing ever appeared too chaotic. You know, the most chaotic it may have appeared were some drunken nights we had in our 20s. That was about the most chaos I ever saw on your side of things.
Yeah, I mean, mine was definitely more 100% internal, just like trying to find
Sure.
myself.
Sure.
You know, struggling with like depression. Like I don't want to say depression because I don't feel like, but it goes back to like things that I did in my life because like eventually I was like, what do I need to do to like be able to sleep at night. Like that's the thing. What do you do to where whatever happens during the day, at the end of the day, you can lay your head down on your pillow and not have any regrets, right?
Right.
So like part of it is like just like knowing like what you need as a human being. It's like that like the staring in the mirror and just like getting to know yourself. Like can you just stare in a mirror? Can you just stare at yourself for 5 minutes? Can you live with your own company? And
I can live with my own company, but there's no way I can stare at myself for 5 minutes straight.
yeah, I mean attention span and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
then there's um he touches on it very briefly. Um
Well, I mean,
I thought it
I,
was right there, but he really quickly talks about he just kind of mentions it where order is heaven. He relates it kind of to heaven a little bit, and then he
mhm.
relates chaos to hell as like a spiritual thing.
Yep.
And I mean, if
It's a super good quote, and I do want to get to that one. I hope I noted it. In fact, I at least reference it. That doesn't happen till like way later, but it's a really good quote.
I have it at 36, maybe I don't know, but oh yeah, because later on he talks about something else. But I just had a note there to where like, when you're looking in, you're trying to figure out yourself. Um, hell has already been studied profoundly, right?
Sure.
And I mean the easiest way to kind of do it is just to look at the 7 layers of hell, um, the 7 deadly sins, and seeing which ones kind of pertain to you. Because I mean, yeah, like sure they're sins, but at the same time, like gluttony, like me and you were just talking about a second ago, if eat a whole pack of Oreos,
Right.
you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's like I couldn't tell you the 7 deadly sins right now. I guess I just got a homework assignment, basically. I do want to circle back to, what I was talking about a minute ago with page 36 with, I basically in those initial readings talking about like order and chaos, like I was basically feeling the opposite of what Peterson was talking. Like obviously we need order. Obviously we need order in our lives. That first and foremost, but again, like I think it's important to become comfortable with a little bit of chaos in your life. And like the note that I have from page 38 kind of just, points out that that's an okay thing. On page 38, Peterson says like our brains respond instantly when chaos appears, with simple, hyperfast circuits maintained from the ancient days when our ancestors dwelled in trees and snakes struck in a flash. After that nigh instantaneous, deep reflective body response uh, comes the later evolving, more complex but slower emotion, responsive emotion. And after that comes thinking of higher order, which can extend over seconds, minutes, or years. All of that response is instinctive in some sense, but the faster response is more instinctive. But the faster the response, the more instinctive. So, like, just get, I mean, get used to it, on some degree. Like, you, we're geared to respond to chaos as it is.
Right. Um, and that's one of the things that I feel like going back to like knowing yourself, right? And but going back to chapter 1, being prepared to react to the situations of the day, right?
Yep.
Um and if you're not ready for that, then even those, like what he's saying, like your your instinctive responses, um, they're not as fast, so you're gonna get bit. And then like when I was reading this, I made a little note. Like he talks about the so the scenario is you're walking through the woods and a snake bites at you, right? And then you move away from it quickly because a snake is trying to bite you. And then he strictly says that deeply reflexive bodily responses come well, hold on. After the deeply reflexive bodily response comes the later evolving more complex but slower responses of emotions. And after that comes thinking of the higher order, which can extend over seconds, minutes, or years.
Right.
How do you train yourself? Because I was thinking, he gives a scenario, but think outside of just the scenario. If you specifically you, if you called me up and was like, Zach, I'd hate you, I'm gonna cause bodily harm or some crap, like your first response is to freaking defend yourself, right?
Sure.
It just prolongs the fight. But once we've had that confrontation and you've hung up the phone, man, I can't believe that guy yesterday. He was like so nice to me. I wonder what's going on. I bet he had a bad day. I
Right.
probably shouldn't have been a jerk to him and just been like, dude, what's going on? And tried to get, like that emotion, that second degree of emotions and thinking starts happening. So how do you make that your instinct?
What you were just getting at kind of ties back into chapter 1 a little bit, because like you're talking about perception right now, right? Like you're talking about how another human perceives how you're acting, right? Or how you perceive another person acting. And like basically, to what I'm trying to get at is, in this chapter 2, on page 39, Peterson talks about, um you know we recognize what something means faster than we recognize what it is, basically. And so if you think about that, like that's how we are able to recognize that so quickly, because our ancestors had to deal with chaos in a life or death manner. So it's these instinctual motions that we go through, whatever it may be. So that's why standing up straight's important. It's also like why we, for people like me, right? Like I'm a super antisocial dude, right? Like I don't want to be, I just am. But that's a part of my chaos, right? Like I've got to be able to, you know, address that little bit of chaos because I need it in my life, right? And that's what Peterson does in page 39 is he ties together like this this primitive instinct that we have, that reaction to chaos. And here on page 39, our brains are deeply social. Other creatures, particularly other humans, were crucially important to us as we lived, mated, and evolved. Those creatures were literally our natural habitat, our environment. From a Darwinian perspective, nature, reality itself, the environment itself is what selects. So, like what I was saying right there, the people around us, that's what selects. Like, if you're trying to move up in this life, you've got to play the game. Let me finish it. The environment cannot be defined in any more fundamental manner. It is not a mere inert manner. I don't know if that note's right either or not. Reality itself is whatever we contend with when we are striving to survive and reproduce. A lot of that is other beings, their opinions on us, and their communities. And that's that. So like just tied together chapter 1 and chapter 2. It's not just standing up straight, it's how you interact with your environment. And as modern humans, the biggest part of our environment that we have to traverse is our interactions with other people.
Right. And I mean, going back to chapter 1, we talked about it as having that posture instead of having the defeated posture where people aren't going to interact with you, or if they are going to interact with you, it's going to be more of a negative, you know,
Sure.
So I mean that is 100% goes back to it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So in my notes, I think I take a pretty big jump here. But I don't know. I'm also kind of focused on the chaos thing with this chapter, and so that's probably why my notes jumped. So on like page 43, again with the whole order and chaos thing. Well, here again, the direct quote: "To be balanced is to have one foot firmly planted in order and security, and the other in chaos, possibility, growth, and adventure." Um, Basically, yeah, I mean, he's saying like if you want to have a successful life, you've got to learn how to, have both. Order is not enough. You can't just be stable, secure, and unchanging because there's still vital and important new things to be learned. Nonetheless, chaos can be too much. You can't long tolerate being swamped and overwhelmed beyond your capacity to cope while you are learning what you still need to know. Thus, you need to place one foot in what you have mastered and understood, and the other in what you are currently exploring and mastering. Um, then you have positioned yourself where the terror of existence is under control and you are secure, but you are alert and engaged. That is where something new to master and some way that you can be improved. Uh, and this is the big sentence. That is where meaning can be found. Like, holy crap, man. I think I think that's like big picture problem. I think that there are so many people out there that just have no meaning in their life whatsoever. Or they've like created this just laughable. I mean, I don't want to be pretentious about this, but just like these excuses, these fake meanings for their life that are just like you're just saying that, you're just saying that because that's what you're supposed to say. Um,
Right.
I do hope that we can inspire at least a few people to stop, be again introspective, and start to figure out well, what is your meaning, what is your purpose. I think if you're going to live a full life, you need to start figuring that out. I don't see how I don't know how your life isn't a vacuum until that point. You know.
Yeah. Um, I'm just reading as I'm just kind of reading it. I think you hit the hammer on the head. I really don't have anything else to say about it.
Yeah.
That's the thing, that one of the hard things about Peterson is he goes to those such precise talking points that there's really not much to say about anything. Not a whole lot.
Sure.
But I feel like like that's the struggle, is to like find out what you need to do in order to be in this situation, right, in your life. And I mean, right now, I feel because it's really easy to become forget the name of it, the not the name of it, but the word that I'm looking for, where you're not really happy, but you're not sad. You're just in your space, and you're kind of just
Content.
there, content. Yeah. Why could I not think of that? Thank you.
It's been a long day, bud. That's pretty clear.
Thank you, public schools. But
Oh,
yeah, it's
yeah.
really easy just to fall on this. It's a joke, by the
Yeah,
way.
that
We
was a
all
good
went to
one.
public school. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
So um,
There's going to be a lot of neighbors that are going to be pissed off at you now. All those teachers that live in the community.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have, I'm going to go off on a freaking tangent.
Okay.
If you, one of the fundamental problems I find with society is that if you cannot take a joke, it, don't talk to me.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Go on about your life. But like literally, if you cannot, if you are in a I mean, I don't care. I don't know how else to say it. People have thin skin. They're too afraid of just offending people, and like you can't, like, down to the nitty gritty of it. Like that's honestly the reason why Joe Rogan's become so popular with his podcast. He just feeds on whatever is in front of him, right? The person that he's interviewing.
Sure.
And yeah, he has his own opinions, but if you come at someone with an extreme opinions 9 times out of 10 are wrong. I mean, it comes back to the order and chaos. You can't be too far left and you can't be too far right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so
you gotta be reasonable.
You have to be reasonable, and you have to be able to accept the fact that I might be wrong.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's easier said than done. It takes practice for sure.
Yeah, and then nowadays it's more of like I might be wrong, but you. All right, so before I say this, George Carlin said it as a joke, but it's the truth.
Okay.
Think about the average human being, right? Think about how stupid that person is. Realize that's the average. Half of the other human beings are stupider than that.
Ooh,
right? Like
yeah.
that's a joke by George Carlin, and it's amazing. But so with that, you have to understand that okay, I could be wrong, but there's a really good chance that you're wrong.
Fair enough.
Like that's my joke. There's a really good chance that you could be wrong because of something George Carlin said. But and then how do you have a conversation with someone who's probably not gonna? I don't know. That's I'm trying to get back into the book, but that it just eats me.
Yeah, I get it for sure. Let's get back into the book though. I'm gonna jump it.
I mean, nah, we're not. Every last week, every one of my patients was watching the same news channel.
Well, wait a minute though. You got to think about where you're working. There's only one news channel to work or to watch. There's only one news channel that's allowed to be watched.
No. Yeah. There is 4 to 5 different news channels that you can switch between on our yeah. So, but there's only one that everyone watches.
Right. It's the socially acceptable one for that area. Period.
Which is fine. You watch whatever you want to, but understand that everyone has an agenda.
Yeah.
And take the facts from and develop the opinions from yourself. But you're watching that because, and yeah, I have to have the same exact conversation with 6 different people. One of them looked at me and was like, "You know what? You have a difference of opinion, and I appreciate that." And listen to what I have to say.
Oh, that's awesome. That's huge.
Out of 6 people, one of 6 right now. Of 6 people you can talk to from my morning conversation with my patients.
I think part of the problem is like, to your point about the agendas, there aren't many subject matter experts out there. You know what I'm saying? Like there aren't regular people in their lives, uh, like just that are just so happen
There
to
are
be.
many there are many self-proclaimed.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get at is like if there's a piece on the news that has to do with health, and something that you're intimately familiar with, if they say a lie, you immediately know, but let's say it's something that's more specific, more of a nuance about like healthcare, right? The reason why I say that is I don't want to sound conceited because I have a lot to learn, but I understand energy, right? Like I've been in energy for a while. Like I'm excited about energy. I'm a nerd about energy. Like it's a really cool thing. But
Electricity, energy, right? Because like the second you said energy, I thought you meant like spiritual energy from
sure,
like
fair enough.
stones and
I know.
yeah,
No, I mean, in one
power
form,
plants.
electricity, but
Yeah,
in the broader sense, like energy, like anything from fossil fuels to renewables. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different forms of energy. I'm fascinated with all of them. Uh, so yeah, it's interesting to watch both sides of the media play these games with their talking points, and like, recognizing when somebody's blatantly lying about energy. Now, when I see the news and I hear the news, like I immediately, when it's these op-ed type pieces, that they run on the news, like I immediately just shut down. Just like, all right, well, there's agenda behind that. There's probably some lies being said right now. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. And that's not healthy. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's where I'm at. A healthier way to approach that would be to continue to listen and understand that not everything they say is factual. There is an agenda there. It's fairly transparent if you just take 2 seconds to like stop and think. And that's not me trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I just, I suggest you turn on the TV and flip between CNN and Fox, just bounce back and forth and see the difference in conversations. There are agendas there. They're trying to whatever. We got to get off of this, man, cuz like
yeah. I mean, like I said, I really feel like it's if you want to listen to a news network to get your to get the story right.
yep.
Um, realize just take the facts that are stated and understand that not all the facts are going to be presented to you, and then
That's a good one.
make your own educated. If it's something that really concerns you, Google it. Like
Yep.
the simplest thing to do,
Yeah.
and don't. I mean, it's just like when you're
And
reading.
man, I do want to pump the brakes because I don't really like want to encourage people to watch the news. I think some people think it's very important. I say fair enough. You've got valid arguments, but like, guys, listen. What I want for you is for you to focus on your life and how you can take it to the next level. I think if we all do that, and if we can encourage everybody around us to do that, to start, you know, focusing on improving things for ourselves, then a lot of the problems that you're seeing on the news right now might just happen to go away naturally. So I'm gonna ask you to turn off the TV. You know, I'm going to ask you to finish this podcast or this video, and then immediately turn off that device once you're done. Maybe write a comment or whatever it is on whatever platform you're on right now, and then turn it off. Um, and just do something for yourself. I think I gotta tell you, like, the TV doesn't come on anymore in the hotel. When I'm on the road during the week, um, I'm pretty much doing something productive every waking hour. I'll take breaks, to not burn out. Um, I might scroll on my phone for a total of maybe an hour a day in total, but that's it. every other waking hour, I'm trying to do something to either, pay the bills or improve in some way. So this chapter is titled what? Care for yourself as you would care for someone else, something along those lines, right? And on page 49, Zach, you're gonna love this one. It certainly resonated with me, and considering where I'm at in my life. He says, it's far better to render beings in your care competent than to protect them. Question for parents: do you want to make your children safe or strong? And that was like, oh, I needed to read that. I really needed to read that because, like, Lake, this very much a paternal figure in my life, was very protective. I had to wear a helmet every time I got on a four-wheeler, no matter what I was doing. That type of thing, right? He was adamant that I know how to shoot a gun and I know how to shoot a gun well, bro. I have never hunted a day in my life, but I am not a bad shot, and I don't even shoot. I never practice. But it didn't take much to knock the rust off. So I just tell you those two anecdotal stories to say, like, I come from a a culture that was very protective, and I'm realizing that, well, if they would have let me figure some of that stuff out on my own, I might have been better off. you know,
Right.
um, I
Um.
I probably didn't get, I probably wasn't afforded all the mistakes that I needed to make at an early age. You know.
Yeah. The father of two. Right. And I'm kind of taking that approach to an extent to where like the kids will be like playing or whatever, and I'm like, could this kill them? And like if the answer is yes, then like yeah, well, I get involved. But if I'm like, no, it'll just hurt them, then I'm like, oh, just give them a warning. Yeah, that's how I'll do it with the wife. Like, hey,
Well,
don't do that.
what's the threshold of pain? Like where do you, because it's not if it's gonna kill him. Like if it's gonna break a bone, I think
Yeah,
that warrants like stepping in, right? So what is that threshold?
right.
Like you're gonna break the skin?
Is this gonna hurt so bad that like we're gonna have to go to the hospital and then DSS gets
Mm,
involved
okay, all
or
right.
child protective services? Like,
Just below protective
yeah,
services. Understood. All right,
yeah.
noted. Let me.
So,
Where's my notepad? I need my notepad. I gotta take a note.
and I'm
Um.
not saying that's the right thing to do, but that's just like kind of like we like my wife is having I'm not saying is having a hard time with this, but like it took a while for like my wife to like get this, but like it rained one day and
Mhm.
like the field was like muddy, right? And like I tell him, I'm like, hey, stay out of the field, it's muddy. But like at the same time, like there's been one or two instances where they got out there and they got completely muddy. Like not like covered in mud like a dog would rolling around in mud, right? But like got mud on their clothes
Oh yeah. Yeah.
from like where they were like playing around and like they're having fun, right?
Been there, done that, man.
And yeah, I'm like, whatever, it's just mud. And then we go in the house, and then my wife is like, why are they covered in mud? I'm like, because they wanted to play in the mud. They're children. So I let them play in the mud. But then I get in trouble because like she's like, well, you're right, but I just bought that shirt for my son, and it was $40, and now it's gonna have stains on it. And I'm like, oh, he should have took his shirt off. No, you can't do
Yeah.
that either. He needs to keep his clothes on, but like stuff like that. But
Oh, I haven't even contemplated like how bad I am on clothes.
yeah,
Like me personally. So I can only imagine like my child is going to destroy some clothing.
yeah. So like that's one of the things too. I don't buy expensive T-shirts at all. Like even like stuff with like logos of like bands or something that I like. I can't do it because I know in my heart and my soul that I'm just gonna throw that T-shirt on one day and then start, like working on the tractor or something and I get grease all over it and then it's ruined. It's not. But then like the same thing goes for talking about teaching someone how to be, how to take care of themselves. That's a big part of my job as a nurse, right?
Sure.
Um, your diabetics like giving themselves insulin shots and stuff like that. Um, so that's 100%. Like my grandpa was a diabetic, and I remember he had 2 glass jars in his refrigerator. What he would do is when he would get a new insulin bottle, he would draw like 10 syringes up with 3 units and like 10 syringes up with 7 units. And so if he knew that he like had a piece of cake or something and he
Oh,
would go to give
okay.
himself an insulin shot, he would just grab a 7 unit. And like his hemoglobin A1C was like it was like basically a 5, between 5 and 6, which is really good. Um, but that's how he learned how to take care of himself, how to take care of his diabetes.
Hmm.
And then if he, you know, ended up just having like a salad or something like that, he knew he probably shouldn't cover himself. But then, if he ate like just a really well-rounded meal without any concentrated sweets and like, enough carbohydrates, he would just give himself a 3 unit shot.
Gotcha.
So like that's the thing is working with people. And figure like perfect example. I had a patient with congestive heart failure. He'd been in like 3 times in 3 months for fluid overload. Right, that's the thing with congestive heart failure. And so he comes in, we give him IV Lasix, and in 3 days he's out. And the last time that I had him, I was like, man, what are you doing? Like, I know you know more than to like chug water all day, but you're getting a lot of fluid from somewhere. Where is it? And he was like, man, I don't know, because I do limit my fluid intake. I'm like, well, what are you eating? And he's like, nothing out of the ordinary. And like,
Oh, there it
I'm like,
is.
I'm like nothing out of the ordinary, as in a lot of fruit and vegetables. And he's like, yeah, I eat a lot of cucumbers. You realize cucumbers is 90% water. Like I would even say like 95% water.
It's a lot of water for
And
sure.
he's like, I eat like 20 cucumbers a day. And like just like little stuff like that where like we sat down when we figured it out where his problem was and we haven't seen him since.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow. Over some freaking cucumbers. How about that?
yeah. Cucumbers and then at that point he realizes watermelon is 99% water and we went from there and whatever.
Incredible.
So
Never thought you could have too much water. I guess you know what I mean. Like, of course, you can die from like drinking too much water. I get
yes,
that.
it's
I
called
get,
dry drowning. Yeah.
I get that, and I get that you're flushing out a lot of minerals and stuff like that. I'm not saying like I'm not that stupid. What I'm saying
Right.
is like within reason, I didn't think you could have too much water. Like not that I would think eating 20 cucumbers a day is reasonable, but still, like if I'm like eating and drinking regularly, could that be too much? Is basically what I'm trying to understand right now. Like, what is limiting your water intake for congestive heart failure? What does that look like?
um I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head.
Am I like
But
allowed to drink this much a day, or is it even less than that?
um 1 to 2 liters, and I'm
Oh,
probably being generous with that.
wow.
But it's one of those things to where when we discharge patients, we give them like a scale to weigh themselves if they don't have one at
Mm-hmm.
home, and they weigh themselves every day.
I mean, look, all right. I've had this while we've been sitting here. I've opened this while we've been sitting here. I've had this open the entire time we've been sitting here sipping on it. And guys, I've got these two for just in case I have a hydration emergency.
Yeah, I have
I
this, but
cannot have congestive heart failure because I will not make it.
uh, so it's pretty easy for me to keep up with exactly how much fluid intake I've I have during the day. I have um 52 ounces of water and coffee before 10 o'clock in the morning.
Good Lord.
And that's today I actually had 72 because I drank, no, not 72. I had an extra 16 ounces of water this morning because I was really, really thirsty.
I'll tell you, man, I've been working out lately, and one thing I just realized is like I would never drink water in the morning, like ever. It would be just coffee until I started working out in the morning. And now I'm drinking water in the morning, and like I think, well, I know I feel better because I work out, right? Like I feel good the entire day after working out. But I'm also starting to wonder like, well, I'm drinking a lot of water then too. So is that helping
No.
me feel better in the morning?
And so yeah, definitely. Um there's a thing, I don't know, remember where I got it, but like drinking a glass of water before you go to bed is um is really, really good for you. But
Hmm.
then 9 times out of 10, if you wake up in the morning and you just feel like extra groggy, like you can't wake up, don't go for an extra cup of coffee, go for an extra cup of water. Because 9 times out of 10, you're just dehydrated.
Wow.
And when you're dehydrated, um, the your blood volume is kind of decreased. So
Sure.
your blood is still being pumped, but it's not being pumped as efficiently as it could. So you just drinking a glass of water. And like that's one thing. It's like when I say that, like I get to work and I take the stairs to third floor, and the first thing I do is go get a cup of water and I drink it in like 2 minutes. Like I can just chug, I just chug it down. I don't think about the taste. Same thing with coffee. Like coffee, um, I want it black. I prefer it strong, but I can't drink hot coffee because then I'll be in the bathroom all morning. So I have to drink it cold.
Huh.
Um, so that's kind of where a lot of more water comes from. Um, just mixing it with so I go get a 20-ounce cup of coffee, and I
Mm.
mix it with basically 16 ounces of ice.
Huh.
So I'm getting more fluid,
Sure.
and I just feel better. Like if I'm at home, I don't do that. I just drink cold brew coffee.
Mm.
But I'm always like, gotta drink a glass of water with this, and I just feel better.
Good. Yeah, man. I wanna like keep us moving forward in this chapter.
Yeah, so
We
I was gonna say we're about an hour and 20 minutes in. Do we just want to kind of go ahead and hit the big one, like the golden rule? I mean, that's skipping a lot
I want to hit this one on page
because
52.
okay, because you see this,
Yeah.
like I've kind of skipped over a lot, but yeah, 52. What we at with 52?
All right. So basically on page 52, Peterson is he's what he's doing is he's bringing religion into the conversation here, which is something that happens quite a bit in this book. And as like somebody that's ran pretty much the whole spiritual spectrum from atheist to like super devout Christian, or at least super involved Christian, um, involved in the church. I appreciate that, man, because like I don't know. I've had a problem with organized religion. Just in general. I think it's a very powerful thing that's easily abused. And so I've kind of just had a distaste for it for most of my adult life. But here lately, I've started to become more aware that, spirituality is a thing. It is a good thing. God is a thing. Um, and with like what Jordan Peterson points out in this book over and over again, like the Christian teachings are valuable teachings. And so on page 52, Peterson's using Adam and Eve, um, as an example. And here's the direct quote from 52. Man, because this is a hypothetical conversation too, by the way. I don't think this is like I don't think this is scripture by any means, but he says, "Man, because you attended to the woman, your eyes have been opened. Your godlike vision, granted to you by snake, fruit, and lover, allow you to see far, even into the future. But those who see into the future can also eternally see trouble coming and must prepare for all contingencies and possibilities." And here's the big stuff. To do that, you will have to eternally sacrifice the present for the future. You must put aside pleasure for security. In short, you will have to work. You will have to work, and it's going to be difficult. Uh, I hope you're far. I hope you're fond of thorns and thistles because you're going to grow a lot of them. Basically, man, what he's getting at there is like you're going to have to sacrifice some of your pleasure now to focus on building a better future. Future's coming, whether you want it or not. We can see that, with our ability to think critically, we can inevitably identify things that are likely to happen in the future. And because of that, we've got to prepare for them. That's what he's getting at there, basically.
Yeah. Um. So it's kind of talking about, like men's punishment as a whole for the sin of eating of the tree of life. Um. You will
Right.
have to work, and it's going to be difficult. Like that's the part. That's actually the only part on that. Because I was raised in a devout Christian home,
Right.
and just like you, um, and like as you were saying it, I was like, that's exactly where I'm coming from. But at the same time, without having people like that in organized religion, where you were talking about, like you kind of not big on organized religion. Like I'm the same way. Like gods exist. Jesus Christ came and died on the cross for our sins and was resurrected. Believe all of that. I'm born again Christian. But without having people in the in organized religion that understands that it can be abused, then it's just going to be abused.
Yep.
So I fall short on that. But you know, we've talked about it. You will have to work, and it's going to be difficult. Talked about a difficult day I had today. I mean, and that's just one day. Um, I was thinking about all the stuff that I have to do tomorrow, even though I'm not working. Um, I'm gonna go pick up, and like that's the thing is I'm preparing for the future. Um, I'm gonna plant about 125 to 150 watermelon plants. I can't remember how many I actually ordered. I have to plant that. I have 125 tomatoes that I'm gonna plant. Um, I have to put together a trampoline. I'm off tomorrow, but I'm working.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
Um, uh, uh, Working more on the lines of like stuff that I like genuinely enjoy.
Yep.
Not saying that I don't enjoy my job, just like in general, I
Yeah.
don't have to deal with the people, right? I can
Right.
just go out there and just do it.
Yep. Listen to this. I triple highlight this one. Perhaps heaven is something you must build, and immortality something you must earn.
Right? Yeah, I got that one too.
I love that. Put it on a t-shirt.
but with our logo on it.
That's right. That's right.
Um, but but yeah, all this, both of these points, so you kind of started at 52. I actually started at this kind of part on 51. Um, and so 51 is he talks about the creation story with Adam and Eve for like 3 or 4 pages.
Right.
But I had 2 points here, that I really liked, at first. So the creation story is Eve talks to the snake, or the serpent, and eats the fruit. And then she gets Adam to eat it, and then they gain the knowledge. And the first thing they do is they realize that they are naked, so they cover themselves, and then they hide from God. And so that's what he's talking about at this point in time. God is walking through the garden, calling out to Adam and Eve to come here, and the creator of the universe calls, and Adam replies, "I heard you, God, but I was naked and hid." What does this mean? It means that people, unsettled by their vulnerability, eternally fear to tell the truth, to mediate between chaos and order, and to manifest their destiny. In other words, they are afraid to walk with God. That hit me like a ton of bricks. Just the they are afraid to walk with God. And like that's one of the things. Are right now, if you die, you go to be judged and you stand before God, are you afraid to meet God?
No, not at all. Not at all. I probably would have been at one point in my life, but no, not at all. It takes a lot of contemplation to come back to that point, you know.
uh, this is like, yeah, it's scary, but in my convictions here on earth, like, I'm pretty okay.
Sure.
This is, and I have this note somewhere, but it was when he's talking about heaven is going to be like order. What is that going to be like, living with pure order and not, because I'm like you, I like to lean a little bit more on the chaotic side and have my foot in stuff that I don't quite understand.
Right.
What is heaven going to be like without any chaos?
Yeah, I don't know,
You
man.
you want to go build, you want to from scratch, like straight up picking the plants up out of the dirt, want to build a hammock. Well, you can do that perfectly in heaven. There's no chaos. There's nothing that you don't understand. That scares me more than anything else.
Oh man.
But I mean, like is that a conversation to have? I don't think it is, because that's just something that's just gonna happen. Yeah, you either make it into heaven or you don't. I don't want to.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to talk about it because that's not going to be a reason to not go to heaven. But it's just something that I'm just like, what, you can't
sure.
fathom.
Well,
And that's a part of heaven, is just, it's unfathomable. You can't imagine
exactly.
that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is like nobody knows what it is, man. Anybody that says they do are just fooling themselves. You have
Right.
no clue. No clue. It's probably not even something that you can even comprehend,
Yeah.
So it's a ridiculous subject to try to talk about.
So I wanna go a little bit further where he reads. So God and Adam, he's afraid to walk with God. He's hid, but now he's talking to him, right? And I'm just gonna skip. Well, no, I'm gonna read the whole thing, so all the context is there. God says, "Who told you you were naked? Did you eat something you weren't supposed to?" And Adam, in his wretchedness, points right at Eve, his love, his partner, and his soulmate, and snitches on her. And then he blames God. He says, "The woman whom you gave to me, she gave it to me, and I ate it." How pathetic and how accurate. The first woman made the first man self-conscious and resentful. Then the first man blamed the woman, and then the first man blamed God. Um,
Yeah, that would
I
hit
don't have.
home.
Yeah. Uh, uh, yeah. And then a little bit later on, at least the woman had the serpent to blame, and it later turns out that the snake is Satan himself,
Right.
etc., etc. That I put a note here. They should have just took responsibility for their actions, right? So there's key points that I feel like we've talked about it before, but just taking responsibility for yourself,
Oh yeah. Yep.
like like not ignoring the facts, right? That this is what happened, but I still shouldn't have done whatever it was that I did. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just but anyway, because I mean that's how you would turn. Because that's what I did. Peterson just kind of says what happens and his feelings on it, right? Because that was he says it. Um, Adam, in his wretchedness, points at Eve and starts to blame or like say snitches on her, and then he blames God, like he's being wretched doing that.
Right.
You know, and he never corrects it, right? So like that's where what I got out of that is just how much different it would have been. Like what would have happened if Adam in that moment in time had a I hate to say it, like be a man, but like be a human being, be a being, as Jordan Peterson says it with a capital B,
Right.
and been like, oh no, wait, I'm gonna take responsibility for my actions right now. You're right, God. I like what would have happened? Our whole world would be different if you believe, you know, in the creation story and all that. But just like in general, um, like at work, um, this is kind of happens quite a bit. You know, mistakes happen. Things. It, things happen, and a lot of times it's no, such and such told me to do it this way, such and such told me to do it that way, and then why don't and you have to do that to figure out where the misinformation kind of comes from. And like whenever I'm thinking about this, I'm mainly thinking about like charting, not necessarily like patient care, but like chart. Like we have a real problem right now in our job. This is stuff nursings have to deal with. Stuff nurses have to deal with our charting is apparently we all chart our SCDs, which is the stuff that goes on your leg and pumps up and keeps the blood flowing in your legs when all you're doing is just laying in bed. We've all been charting our SCDs in the wrong spot, which means they're not being billed for it.
Oh.
So like it's really simple just to be like to because you own it to it. Well, I don't exactly know where to chart it at. This is how I chart it. You know. But just thinking about that, just responsibility, authenticity, like those two words. I that's kind of like the words that I like try to be in life. And it just made me think about that a lot. I don't know why.
Sure. Man, I I kind of jumped in my notes pretty much to the end. I think I'm at the golden rule right now. If you want to talk about that, now there are a lot of notes still.
Yeah, I mean, I can go over page on 54, page on 55. We're chart fallen creatures that don't value ourselves. That's why we don't take
Yeah.
care of ourselves.
Right.
54
Yeah.
is where you talk. Yeah,
Wait. Let's talk about that one because like that's one that I was just looking at too. I definitely had that. Um, where is that? I'm gonna read that unless you find it first.
if we wish to take care of ourselves properly, all right, top of 58. If we wish to take care of ourselves properly, we would have to respect ourselves, but we don't because we are, not least in our eyes, fallen creatures.
Right.
If we lived in truth, if we spoke the truth, then we could walk with God once again and respect ourselves and others in the world.
Yeah, man. I haven't had a whole lot of respect for myself for much of my life. It's turned around here recently, thank God. Um, and I had my reasons, like my lack of self control, uh, primarily, which manifests itself in several different ways. But it's an important one, man. It's an important one to figure out. I think I have one that kind of ties into that. If we You didn't say, I don't think you said this part. If we lived in truth, if we spoke in truth, then we could walk with God again and respect ourselves and others and the world. We might treat ourselves like people we cared for. We might strive to set the world straight.
Yeah. We might orient it toward heaven, where we would want people to be cared for to dwell, instead of hell, where our resentment and hatred would eternally sentence everyone. Um, I think it gets into this. He gets in part of this in chapter 1 as well, where he talks about, eventually, once you start to see the world as it starts as like, how do I make myself better? How do I level up, as you put it? Um, and then once you start improving yourself, the next step is, well, what can I do to help my neighbor? What can I
Right.
do to help my wife? What can I do to help my kids? Then your neighbor, your mom, your dad, and eventually it spreads into, how do I make the world better? How do I make my neighborhood better, et cetera, et cetera? And that's what he's kind of getting here. Um, then we might treat ourselves like people we cared for. We might strive to set the world straight, orient it towards heaven. You know,
Right. Right. I like that, on 59, he continues to like unpack that type of person that, doesn't respect themselves, like the person that is, not narcissistic. Um, and basically what he's setting it up for is like these these people that, become pushovers, right? Because they have no respect for themselves. And basically, that gets us into the golden rule, right? What was that, page 59 maybe?
yeah, the very bottom.
Oh man, it's so good. Uh, any claim that the golden rule does not mean sacrifice yourself for others might therefore appear dubious. But Christ's archetypal death exists as an example of how to accept finitude. Uh, betrayal. Oh my God, man, betrayal and tyranny, heroically. Wow. Um, and not just as a directive to victimize ourselves in service of others. That's the big part. To sacrifice ourselves to God, the highest good, if you like, does not mean to suffer silently and willingly when some person or organization demands more from us consistently than is offered in return. This means we are supporting tyranny and allowing ourselves to be treated like slaves. It is not virtuous to be victimized by a bully, even if that bully is oneself. Yeah, I needed to hear that for sure. Like you have to stand up for yourself, man.
Right. Um, and I think it's in this chapter. He kind of gets into that somewhere where he's talking about, he gives the example of like at work. But that's the next chapter or something.
Hmm.
I can't remember. But it still kind of works. Just standing up for yourself eventually helps your fellow man. Um,
Yeah, no, I've got that right here. This page 62. You have some vital role you have some vital role to play in the unfolding destiny of the world. You are therefore morally obligated to take care of yourself.
Right.
That's, I mean, that falls right in line with, what I was saying earlier is like, focus on yourself, focus on building yourself up because you are obligated morally to do that. We all have to, you know.
Yeah. Kind of going back to the golden rule.
Okay.
Page 60. I remember why I wrote it. It's just finding it just goes back to what we were saying. I'm just gonna read my note and I'm not trying to find it in the book so we can keep it moving. There we are. You are not simply your own possession to torture and mistreat. This is partly because your being is inexorably tied up with that of others, and your mistreatment of yourself can have catastrophic consequences for others. Um, this I'm not gonna get into the rest of it. He starts talking about suicide and stuff like that, but it's one of those things to where um, I was thinking about I recently re-listened to it. Protest the Hero has a song off their first album. Yeah, this is going way back.
Yeah, way back.
And I don't exactly remember which song it is on the album, but he's because I never exactly understood what he was talking about, but he's talking about a song kind of about just like talking about like gender equality and stuff like that. But he says something along the lines of your life means more than you, and you have to think about when you're in a bad mood. And 100% this goes back to the golden rule, which I don't think we've actually said yet, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right?
Right.
Because that's as simple as it is. It is very complex.
Yeah, I wrote a note somewhere that you know kind of put it in perspective for me, as far as like what he's getting at here, which is I have to fight as hard for myself as I would my neighbor. Like if my neighbor needs me to have its back, I'm gonna have their back, right? But I've got
Right.
to have my own back as well. I've got to go to bat for myself just as hard as I would somebody else, basically.
Yeah. So just really quick, I'm gonna kind of read that excerpt there. Doing unto others as you would have them do unto you, or loving your neighbor as yourself. Um, the first lesson was that neither of these statements has anything to do with being nice.
Yeah, and I love that. Love that.
Um, the second was that both equations rather the second was that both are equations rather than injunctions. If I'm someone's friend, family member, or lover, then I am morally obliged to bargain as hard on my own, bargain as hard on my own behalf as they are on theirs. If I fail to do so, I will end up a slave and the other person a tyrant.
Right.
Um, And then here he gets into the furthermore, there is little difference between standing up and speaking for yourself when you are being bullied or otherwise tormented and enslaved, and standing up and speaking for someone else. Um, as Jung points out, this means embracing and loving the sinner who is yourself as much as forgiving and aiding someone else who is stumbling and imperfect.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just this happens a lot at work. I'll say it, and I don't feel bad about saying it. I work in a hospital. There's, a lot of staff there. And a lot of times when 3 or 4 of us get together and, we talk about people. But I've started making it a point very clearly. Listen, wait a minute. Let's stop for a second. Do not talk about that person that way. Talk about what you have observed. Kind of deal. Just like a different perspective. But at the same time, like, this is another thing. This is more, I don't know why that popped into my head because it kind of happened the other day. But more importantly, I kind of go above and beyond. And I like this was the part that I have like no problem with saying whatsoever. Twice today, well, more than twice, but twice, 2 examples specifically. One of the nurses had a large dressing change.
Mm-hmm.
And I was free. I didn't have anything going on. And it was one of those things to where she didn't come to me and say, "Hey, can I get some help?" Because it's like a fairly big patient. We have to like roll them and stuff like that. She never came to me. I just noticed, oh, she's in that room. I bet she's doing that dressing change. Pop my head in. Hey, girl, you need anything? Um, I don't think I got enough supplies. Okay, I'll be right back. It's like dressing changes. You kind of can as a nurse, you can kind of see how big it is and like kind of know what they're probably missing. So you just go grab a handful of supplies and you'll charge it to the patient later. So I go in there and I just start helping, right? There's other nurses that are like just sitting at the desk that 100% would go and help her if she asked. But that's I'm fully prepared. This is going to be an hour out of my day just helping one person do one thing. Ended up not being that long. But then there's another where like this isn't my patient at all whatsoever. And one of the other nurses is like has a discharge to do and this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. And one of the surgical patients is going to be discharged. And she like comes up to me and she was like, "This guy hasn't had a bowel movement in a week." Which means we can't discharge him, surgical or not. So I'm like, call the doctor, call the surgeon, and ask him what he wants to do about it. Because if the surgeon says just to discharge him, well, that's protecting us. You can just put that in the note. She calls us a surgeon, and the surgeon's like, "Yeah, that's a medical issue. That's kind of out of my jurisdiction. But this is what we'll do. We'll give him something to help speed up that process, and then discharging. So put in an order for suppository, and like she's got like 2 other patients that are waiting to be discharged, this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, "Hey, did you put in that order for that suppository?" And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, you got time to go do that now, or do you want me to go do that for you? And she was like, "Would you really go give a suppository to a man?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care. If it helps you, he's got to have it done. I'm pretty sure he'd rather have you because, like,
God,
like there's obvious reasons why you wouldn't want a man to do it." And she's like, "Yeah, if you'll just go do that." So yeah, just out of the goodness and kindness of my heart, like yeah, I'm gonna go put my finger in this man's butt.
Oh my
But
God.
but yeah, even like the people that I like working with, um, most of them don't do that. Most of them don't just come up to me and are just like, "Hey, I noticed you were hanging, like potassium K riders. K riders, you normally have like four, and you have to hang like four different ones every hour. But nobody ever comes up to me and is just like, hey, you have K riders hanging, and one of them was empty, so I pulled it and hanged it for you. Hung it for you. Um, like no one does that for me. And like today, I got like frustrated about it because like I had an admission, I had that patient that was going crazy, and I needed to do an admission on her, and like no one was helping me.
Mm.
And like I don't know, is it? This is one of those situations to where it's like, what should you do? Like, do you ask someone to help you? I don't know. Just sucks.
That's a tough one, man, for sure.
It's just a. I don't even want to say like it's a tough one. It's just a sucky situation. Um, one of the one of the reasons definitely to like not like being a nurse, because like at the same time like I'm so busy, I don't know what anyone else is doing on the floor. To where if someone does have time to like come and help. Um, but I mean, I feel like it just goes back to what I was trying to saying. You're more than yourself, right? There's in your life. There's many social groups. There's many teams that you're a part of, and if you are suffering or you fail in one of those, it definitely affects the rest of the group, right? Just as simple things as like um, tomorrow when I put that trampoline together to make sure all the parts are there. Um, if something happens and I hurt myself and then I'm mad the rest of the day about it, like my family's gonna suffer, right? But just like
Right.
just like
Right.
simple things like that. Um,
Right.
or if I do a crappy job, then my kids are gonna jump on it and fall through it or something. Like you're always more than yourself. Your actions affect the people around you.
Yeah, and speaking of kids, like there's this little part that Peterson that I wrote down that Peterson said, I think on page like 62. It says to treat yourself as if you were someone you were responsible for helping, instead to consider what would truly be good for you. This is not what you want. It is also not what makes you happy. Every time you give a child something sweet, you make that child happy. That does not mean you should do nothing for the children except feed them candy. Happy is by no means synonymous with good. You must help a child become virtuous, responsible, awake, being capable of full reciprocity. Um, Able to take care of himself and others and thrive while doing so. Why would you think it's acceptable to do anything less for yourself? You need to consider the future and think, what might life look like if I were caring for myself properly? What might life look like if I were caring for myself properly? That's a big one, man. I've got to step it up on my side, for sure. There's a lot of room for improvement.
I mean, we all have a lot of room for improvement. So like when you're saying that, just and this is for everybody listening and everything. When you come to that realization, don't beat yourself up about it, right?
Sure, sure.
Like once you realize that like there's room for improvement. I mean, look at this, right? This is amazing,
Yes.
right?
Yes, it is. Sure.
But there's always room for improvement. Don't beat yourself up, and find that thing that you want to learn how to do. And it's really funny. I can't. exactly remember the quote, but I come across it today on I don't do TikTok, but YouTube Shorts, where Peterson was talking about the he was making the comment, and it was in this. I'm like 90% sure it's in the first chapter. When you sit down, you have a conversation with yourself, um, and you're like, if there's one thing in my life that I could change, that I would change to make myself better, what is it? And like you spend 5-10 minutes with yourself contemplating that question, things are going to come up, and it's not going to be nice, right?
Right.
um and I don't remember, I know you just went over it, but good does not equal nice,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Good is good, and nice is two completely different concepts. um but yeah, just to because I mean change, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do. We're trying to change, um for the better,
Right.
for good.
Right.
um
Here's a
you know
good quote from the chapter.
uh
He whose life has a why can beat almost anyhow.
okay.
Yeah. Find a purpose in life, you know, and keep working towards whatever that may be. I don't know, man. That's about all I got on this chapter. It's a big one. It's a good one. It's a pretty easy concept to understand.
Yeah, I still there's one other thing I want to talk about, but I don't. When we're 2 hours in,
Yep.
I did not think it was going to take this long.
Mm-mm.
So I'm going to touch on it as briefly as possible. Um, there's a on the bottom of page 60. Um, he talks about I'm going to read this to kind of, and then I'm going to explain the story. The bottom of page 60. We can make order from chaos and vice versa, and our way with our words. So we may not exactly be God, but we're not exactly nothing either. So he goes um, into a story about two different men who um, worked side by side. Um, they cooperated while repairing the lines. I thought I was going to say what the job was, but it didn't. But anyway, there was a man who was physically handicapped, and then there was another man who kind of wasn't quite all there
Right.
mentally,
Yep.
and together, they worked together. Whatever their job was, they
They
did.
they work for the utility.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
and they repaired things, fixed whatever needed to be done, and they were able to do it effectively. Um, and I kind of feel it's like that kind of pulls the whole chapter together. Um, all throughout this book, I've kind of like, I don't know how many people remember um, when Robin Williams killed himself.
Mm.
Um, but that was if I've ever had a hero that like come from Hollywood, it would be Robin Williams. Just the to be able to make someone laugh. Um, that's a gift.
Guy, he was one of my favorite actors. Favorite
Um,
stand-up comedians, just favorite people.
and on page 61. I just kind of have it as a note. I'm not going to look into the book or anything. He just kind of said a thing, and I made a note about it, about just wounded people just holding it together, it as in society. And that's kind of what I was getting at with these two people. And you think about Robin, how, I mean, from a nurse, someone who deals, I don't have a lot of mental illness. I mean, I do, but not to like the point of like suicide and stuff like that. In order for someone to kill themselves, like I feel like it is a mental illness, right? Depression, anxiety, it's a mental illness. There's an imbalance somewhere in your brain. But yeah, wounded people holding it together made me think about Robin Williams. And then on the flip side, on a happier note, I also thought about Gandalf in Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I can't remember what book it was or movie, but he has a moment where it's like him and a couple more of the more powerful elves and stuff like that, and he kind of goes into this. Oh, no. Let me back up. He's talking to the queen elf that holds the ring. I can't remember her name, but she's like kind of talking to him, and he's this like, I've found that it's the little things in life that like brings, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's the little things in life that kind of brings joy to the world, um and on the opposite of that, it's also like the it's the little things that'll wear a man down. Well, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, because um it, me and you like talking and stuff. I know you've had things blow up on the job site.
Yeah, right.
And like that's stressful until it's fixed, right?
Right.
But then let's just say that you have someone, I'm trying to like think of something simple, instead of using a like, I'm trying to think of like something code that's electrical, but I'm going to do something even simpler. Instead of using a red wire, they always use a white wire instead. Like,
Right.
yeah, that, like, you can, like, that leads to big problems, right?
Right.
Even though it's a little thing,
Right.
right? That's same way in life. It's just all the little things building up and building up and building up, and that's what wears you down.
That's
Not
right.
necessarily the one big thing.
That's right.
Yeah, but it's also the little things, like in the morning when my son wakes me up and goes, "Dad, you go work?" He's not real. He doesn't do a whole lot of talking yet. He's
Right.
2.5. So he always going to ask me if I got to work, and I'm going to go, "No, I'm going to get to stay home today, buddy." And he's going to smile at me and be like, "Play," and I'm going to be like, "Yeah!" Like the little things.
No, that's
Little
awesome.
things that lift you up. So
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about all I got for this chapter, man.
yeah, probably went into a little bit too much depth, but
Yeah.
oh yeah, there's also this. Kidding.
Right.
I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah. So next week, chapter 3, rule 3, make friends with people who want the best for you. That's going to be a good one. That's a real good chapter. So looking forward to getting into that one. All right, bud. That is
Man.
all for tonight. I am going to bed immediately.
Yeah.
All right, man. Wow.
Just like that. Yeah, I didn't mean to ruin your ears.
No, it wasn't bad. All right, man. Get some rest, and we'll talk tomorrow.
All right, man.
All right, buddy.
Later.